This October month, SAFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It's certainly a big news day, as always, here on the National Pulse. So welcome to the show. My name is Ashraf Garda. Big news day because we know that the South African activists who were, called it, and again, how you see it, apprehended in international waters as they were heading to Gaza. Now understanding Jordan, released to Jordan, and now will be arriving in South Africa sometime tomorrow. That's one thing. And then back home, there are big issues around parents and very concerned about education in KZN. We'll touch on that. There's also a labor issue around teachers or teacher aides being, short-circuited in many ways. And we'll talk about that too. But one of the biggest issues has got to be the Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. And they've got off to a rocky start this morning. So what we'll do, in fact, the issue was adjourned, and I'm talking about Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's statement now. This is not to the Madlanga Commission, but to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating police corruption. So let's do this. They've resumed after it was adjourned to 3 o'clock. They've resumed now, and at least for a while, we're going to join them.
To meet with him again, to consider and to consult about some of the issues that were raised before the adjournment. We have amended the statement, the original statement, by deleting reference to initial and supplementary, deleting that, and also at the old paragraph 8, we've amended it to read as follows. I consulted with the committee's evidence leaders on 25 and 26 September 2025. This is my statement to the committee in response to the terms of reference, where I deal with certain factual matters canvassed in Annexure NSM 3, which is the statement made before the Madlanga Commission. I include those details as an annexure to this statement. My statement, as well as the annexures included in volumes 2 and 3 of my witness bundle, encompass all my evidence before this committee. So, Chair, I respectfully submit that the concerns, the issues that have been raised have been fixed, cured, in consultation with General Mkhwanazi, and I would respectfully request that you swear him in so that we can commence to lead his evidence in accordance with his statement.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think what I should do, because you have now formally presented the statement, let me rotate between the members before we administer oath. The report that you present here is a report that the members have directed. So it will be fair that I give them an opportunity to impress on it. I'm starting with the rotation.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Let me thank the evidence leader as well. The African National Congress is satisfied at the reading that the issues that we had identified as defects of this statement being a supplementary statement do seem to have been cured, as the evidence leader says. We trust that with thorough reading of the document, indeed, that will be confirmed. So we're happy to proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sango and Honorable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we are noting the amendments that have been made, and in our view, they have been made in accordance with the instructions of this committee. So we can't postpone this any further. South Africans want to hear the General testifying before this committee. So here is an opportunity, and we can't postpone. Let the work of the committee start now.
Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. There's a small matter which we wish to put it on record. And I want to thank the evidence leader. Though it is regrettable that the senior counsel chose to open with a preamble in the morning, presenting personal opinion as thought they were established fact and citing matters of the Zondo Commission or the so-called State Capture Commission that remain contested and currently under judicial review. This committee, this ad hoc committee, in the interest of procedural progress, exercise restraint and refrain from challenging these assertions. Even more concerning, Chair, is that the senior counsel apparently disregard for this constitutional separation of power between the executive and Parliament, a principle essentially to the integrity of these proceedings. Such conduct is left, if it's left unchecked, risk of undermining this committee work and setting the unfortunate precedent for the future engagements. Accordingly, the committee must be careful and consider whether the time spent under these circumstances should be treated as billable and what measures, if any, are appropriate to ensure the adherence to Parliament protocol going forward. And I wish to thank as well you, Chair, of handling this matter with caution and with the sensitivity it deserves. And I wish to thank the Provincial Commissioner General Mkhwanazi for him to be still with us. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chair. We've gone over it and everything looks fine as was proposed. So it's fine from our side. We can proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Economic Freedom Fighters.
Let's proceed, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mukhalaka. The IFP.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chair. I think we can proceed. We're satisfied with the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mnango. The Patriotic Alliance.
Satisfied, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, honorable members. We have rounded all the members of the committee, and the strongest feeling is that we should proceed. The next item will be to administer oath on General Mkhwanazi. Before we do that, we must put it on record. Earlier this morning, I informed you that the full member of the Democratic Alliance to this ad hoc committee, the full members are Honorable Cameron and Honorable Breitenbach. So Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Malema and I are members of the Judicial Service Commission, and it is sitting today for the next 10 days. So the reason why Honorable Breitenbach is not here is because she's at the JSC together with the other parliamentary designates there. So the Speaker of Parliament has accordingly informed the Chief Justice about the number of the members of Parliament who will be available for the work of the JSC. And the two of us, Honorable Malema and myself, who are here, why we are unable to be at the JSC for the duration of the October interview. So I just felt I should put that on record so that honorable members and the media should know why Honorable Breitenbach is not here. And so the alternate member for the DA is Honorable Diane Kolabanat, who is standing in here for Honorable Breitenbach. Thank you so much. Let me move to administer oath on Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of the Police in the KwaZulu-Natal province of the Republic of South Africa. Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, you have been invited to appear before the ad hoc committee to investigate the allegations that you have made, to provide information to the committee's oversight so that it can properly investigate the allegations that have been made, which include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the political killing task force or team, which is known as PKTT, alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, SAPS, and alleged corrupt relationship between senior leadership within the SAPS and members of the public, as well as political interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee, if you so wish, under oath in terms of the powers, privileges and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You have indicated that you wish to take the oath so as to be afforded the protections as provided in the Powers and Privileges Act 2004. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or a committee of Parliament may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or a committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offense and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take the oath or the affirmation, and then I will check with you, General Mkhwanazi, if you choose to take oath or affirmation.
I'll take an oath, sir.
Then if you take an oath, you will then have to repeat after what I say, respectfully so. I am going to read the oath. So where I say I, you will then have to mention your names, because the I in this case, because it's me reading, will be referring to Malapi Soviet Lhanyan. So in your case, you will say I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I swear that the evidence I shall give. May you please repeat after me, General Mkhwanazi, or do you want me to read the whole?
I can say all of it, Chair, if you want me.
Okay, no, it's fine. So.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
You could spend 10 minutes on social media or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. Like 55-year-old Andre, who now pays a mind-blowing 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. With Outsurance, you get to enjoy benefits like panic assistance that sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you may be, 24/7 with just a tap on the app. SMS out to 30754. After switching, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month for his 2024 Suzuki Jimny. Outsurance is so confident that they can beat what you're currently paying. So why not put them to the test? If Outsurance can't beat what you're paying, ask them for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Limits apply.
Right, make a note of this, right? This message is brought to you by Tuba, the proud operator of the National Lottery. Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million Rand estimated jackpot today? Don't delay, play Powerball for an estimated 120 million Rand jackpot for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
In that, and you're familiar with those terms of preference, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, you have consulted with us. We spent a considerable time putting together this statement. And the annexes are at volumes 2 and 3, which I see it's either on your soft copy of your computer or hard copy on the left, and we'll make occasional reference to some of those annexes. However, could you, just for the record, it's at paragraphs 9.1 to 9.6, just describe to us your position currently, as well as the previous years you've spent in the South African Police Service as a police officer.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, although I did not want to bore the members with the history since I joined the service, which was in 1993,
but I felt it's important maybe to reflect the position I held as a senior manager in the organization in the top executive of the SAPS, which started in 2011, that I performed the task as the acting national commissioner at the rank of a lieutenant general in 2011, 2012. And subsequent to that, I had the privilege of not working for a year, but still employed in the police. And a year later, I was then assigned a division facility management as a divisional commissioner there. And after that, I was then appointed as a divisional commissioner of human resource development. And after human resource development, I became the acting provincial commissioner KwaZulu-Natal. And subsequent to that, I moved to the division operational response. And then I went back to KwaZulu-Natal as a provincial commissioner on a permanent basis, which is a position that I'm still occupying until now.
So your movement up the ranks has been quite extraordinary over the years. You rank as one of our most senior police officers, and you are familiar with all the workings within, especially senior police management. Would it be fair to make that statement?
That is correct. I'm a member of the Board of Commissioners in the South African Police Service, which is the top structure of the SAPS.
You also acted as the National Commissioner in 2011 to 2012.
That is correct.
That's correct. The main reason why we are here, it relates to the issue surrounding the political killings task team. So perhaps we could just start by looking at the establishment of that, let's call it the PKTT, when, for what purpose, and how it operates, and perhaps start in 2018. We know that in this chamber, not exactly the same chamber, but in Parliament, President Ramaphosa had made an announcement of the formation of an interministerial committee in this House, and that it's been set up to look into the political killings of KZN. Just talk to us about that development and what happened subsequently.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members, the President of the Republic, in his capacity as the leader of the African National Congress, he visited the area of KwaZulu-Natal called Pietermaritzburg, where a member of his political party, Mr. Musawenkosi Kashana Mkhunu, was killed. And after the visit, the president then addressed the gathering that was outside the house. And this visit was on the 18th of May, 2018. In his address to the public, the president made announcements that he shall establish, or he has given a task to the group of ministers, and he's given them assignment that they must come with a solution, strategies to intervene with regard to mitigating these incidents of the murders of politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So this group of ministers...
Right, we just pause for the moment from that parliamentary ad hoc committee, and we get the news headlines with Tondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the Matlanga Commission has issued Brown Mokgotsi with a notice that informs him of the allegations placed before the Commission that center him in the alleged unlawful interference of SAPS and its affairs. Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, has assured the Standing Committee on Public Accounts that they will ensure that the Road Accident Fund complies with the recommendations that will be set by the committee's inquiry. And Hamas has called the day of the October 7 attack a meaningful turning point in the region. Israelis are gathering at memorial events to mark 2 years since Hamas attacks in 2023, in which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 others were taken hostage. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on both routes towards Giluli's interchange. Bompas Road westbound in Dunkeld is where a crash is reported at Jan Smuts Avenue, and Grayston Drive in Sandton, a crash reported near the M1 highway. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash reported, as well as a stationary truck after Umgeni Road, the N2 northbound queuing through the construction area north of Spaghetti Junction. And in Cape Town, Montague Drive in Montague Gardens is slow moving, that's at Drill Avenue. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Football, to talk Bafana.
It is a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has called up Evidence Makgopa to replace Ikram Reynolds, who has been withdrawn due to medical reasons. Bafana also without Pirates attacker Lebogile Mofokeng, who was withdrawn from the team after picking up an injury over the weekend, with Mduduzi Shabalala coming in as replacement. Bafana take on Zimbabwe tonight at 6 p.m. and Bruce says that they are focused on their mission to qualify for the FIFA World Cup.
I don't have to tell you that maybe the next games are historical. Everybody knows that it's 24 years ago that South Africa could qualify for World Cup. So our situation is a little bit changed because of the deduction of 3 points, but that's the only change. Even with 3 points ahead, we had to win our 2 last games to be mathematically sure to be qualified. So that is not a change for us. And certainly look at the next games. There are 4 teams involved. It's impossible that 4 teams can win their 2 matches. This is impossible. So therefore the game of Friday is maybe the most important. If we can win that game, we have 17 points. Nigeria, if they win their 2 games, they can only have 17 points. Same thing for Rwanda. But if they win their 2 games, Benin cannot win the 2 games because they play against Nigeria and Rwanda. And therefore, the game of Friday is so important for us to win it.
Well, talking about the World Cup, FIFA has raised the price of tickets because of demand. Group stage tickets go for $62,805, which is around just over 1,000 rands, to 13,000 rand 920, with the final going for $2,030 to $6,370. That's like 30,000 to 109,000 rands for a final at the World Cup in the USA.
So I'm not going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me neither. Elsewhere, Harry Kane says that he's open to extending his Bayern Munich stay. Just last month, Tottenham boss Thomas Frank had opened the door for a potential Kane return to North London from Bayern, and this is because he had a release clause in his Bayern contract which could have allowed him to leave at £67 million just this year in January, and it's going to drop to £54 million next year. However, Kane says that different opportunities and timings happen, and things fall in place, and for now he's fully with Bayern. In rugby, Springbok prop Boan Venter could be fast-tracked into Edinburgh's team for Friday's URC clash against Munster. The 28-year-old returned to training this week. This is following South Africa's thrilling 29-27 win over Argentina at Twickenham on Saturday, which secured back-to-back rugby championship. Venter, who joined Edinburgh from Cheetahs back in 2021, had previously indicated that he hoped to qualify for Scotland on residency grounds in 2026. In tennis, the governing body of the men's tennis ATP could consider a formal heat rule. This is after a string of retirements at the Shanghai Masters this week blew the draw wide open, with top players struggling over soaring temperatures and punishing humidity. World number 2 Yannick Sinner's title defense ended in agony on Sunday when the Italian struggled to walk due to a cramp in his right thigh before he retired. And also Novak Djokovic vomited during his clash with Yannick Yafman, while Holger Rune was heard asking an official during a medical timeout in his meeting with Hugo that players could die on the court amid the heat and humidity. And finally, all roads lead to Union Buildings in Tshwane on Sunday, where the Region 5 Marathon will take place. Winners for this race are going to go home with 50,000 rands for both male and female. It's 21 kilometer, and it's all systems go. Everyone is just looking forward to that marathon on Sunday.
Okay, all very, very exciting. And you know what, the point about the World Cup, including South Africa's World Cup, that ultimately the nature of these world events, it is attended largely by the middle class.
Yeah.
That is the nature of it. I mean, I watched many of the games. Of course, others watched it on TV, but the reality is not everybody can afford it. You can go to one game.
Yeah.
From a whole month, that's too much, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I'm wondering if there's continued demand for these tickets because FIFA is raising it based on the demands. So if there's more people still wanting these tickets, it seems like the price is going to get higher and higher
goodness.
and higher.
That's why I'm not buying it. So maybe the price will drop. More sport in an hour.
It all starts with advice from FNB Private. Because the perfect overseas trip starts with planning. Save and spend in multiple currencies with your FNB Global account and lock in exchange rates. Enjoy up to 40% off flights with eBucks Travel and order Forex on the FNB app delivered to you at no extra cost. Your adventure awaits. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TC's own rules and limits apply.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Right, this message is brought to you by Ituba, the proud operator of the National Lottery, right? So, Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rands estimated jackpot for today? Don't delay, play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, at least until 4 o'clock, we're going to stay with the crossing into Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption, and of course the person who is testifying today is the much talked about Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. So let's cross right away there.
Some implicated that this was a political initiative. It was a task team established and appointed to perform a particular task from time to time. And the decision to disband or to disestablish it was a political decision, and it was entirely lawful for such a decision to be taken. What would be your response to such a proposition or argument?
Yeah, I'll say they are wrong, Chair. I'll say they are wrong because a minister of police is not a member of political party. The minister of police is executive member that is appointed in terms of the law of the republic. Is a cabinet member responsible for policing. I don't think the legislature cared as to which political party the member belongs to. So to put a statement and say it was a political decision, what if the minister is not a politician? So I don't think that argument will stand.
Okay. So we'll perhaps explore that a bit later when we come to the Minister's Directive, Minister Mkhunu's Directive of 31 December. But just to establish the PKTT as an entity. So this was, is it right, this was not a permanent structure. It was a task team that was established over initially a 6 months period, later on over a year, but it was resourced and financed from the budget of the police, in respect of which all of you as senior officers informed that budget, and it was approved by the National Commissioner. Would that be a correct or a fair summary? Would you want to elaborate?
Honorable Chair and members, the team, as it was working, the SAPS dedicated specific funds from the national level to be utilized by this team. And it was not the budget that was allocated to the cost center of KwaZulu-Natal as a province. Therefore, it was an extra allocation. However, the other departments, be the NPA, who had dedicated prosecutors working with the team, correctional services, and many SSA, and many other departments that were part of the operation, I believe they were using their own line function operational budget to execute the task. But I'm speaking under correction. I'm not sure if they had any specific budget allocation for the project. But in the ACPS, which I can speak on, there was a dedicated budget allocation. It might not have been according to what we had asked for, because the CFO needed to make money available. Sometimes we'll ask for 10 million and she'll give you 5. But there was a specific budget for the ACPS. I'm indicating these, Honorable Chair and members, that so that it's understood that SAPS was using the budget, but not only SAPS was working in this team. There's NPA, there's correctional services, and there's other entities that were using budget. So I can't speak on their budget. So I'm only talking about the SAPS budget.
So would it be fair to say that this, in summary, about the PKTT, it was a political initiative that was then operationalized by or through the Office of the National Commissioner, fully funded, fully resourced by the police, and subsequently also informed by other state actors, like, for example, the NPA and others, to form this multidisciplinary team.
Honorable Chair members, I'll beg to differ again. It was not a political decision that was implemented by the National Commissioner, but it was an executive authority decision that was executed by the heads of departments within the security cluster, which include the National Commissioner.
Okay. So, what role, or what was your role within the PKTT? Did you lead the team? Were you the project leader? or was Brigadier Kumalo was appointed the project leader? Who appointed him as project leader?
Honorable Chair and members, before the meeting of the 21st of May took place, the National Commissioner, as I said earlier when I started, that in KwaZulu-Natal, the Provincial Commissioner was on suspension. The National Commission had assigned me to go and act as a Provincial Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal to oversee the province and manage the province. So in my taking up that position, I had requested the National Commission to allow me to take Brigadier Kumalo with me to go down to KZN and assist me with the managing of the province, which the National Commission had approved. So on our arrival in KZN, we were there for managing the province. So when this tasking came, it was a task that was given to the province to make sure that the attacks to the political leaders in our province is somehow minimized, and we're able to deal with perpetrators and put a stop to the incidents that were happening. So by default, the provincial commissioner, which was myself, was part of this. That means I had to be responsible for what was happening at the time. As I said, when the plan was developed, it did not only include the provincial commissioner alone. So the plan was put together. As a person in charge of the province, initially, I took responsibility for it. And as I moved out of the province, it needed to be overseen throughout the process, including myself while I was out of the province, but overseen by many senior officers that were given a responsibility to oversee the working of the team. So I was a provincial commissioner in the province. The team was given an assignment, a responsibility to a major general who was at the national level, who was at detective services. He was appointed as a project leader, and then he was assisted by 2 brigadiers. So he went on retirement, and another brigadier was then given that responsibility to take over from him. But as I say, they are accounting to the provincial commissioners, myself, and then the accounting was going all the way up to the national commissioners level.
So the budget for the task team, was that allocated at national level, but the task team itself was in operation at a provincial level?
That is correct. The task team was working at the provincial level while the budget was a national budget.
And just describe the command structure and the composition of the team. Was it the officers in the team, were they only based in KZN, or were they drawn from other parts of the country, other divisions, other units?
Honorable Chair and members, the team was made out of different expertise from different parts of our organization, which were drawn from different parts of our country as the organization is spread across, where we need to get the expertise to come and assist. Those expertise were then invited from different stations, different units in the rest of the Republic to come and assist the team.
Just to reference him, because he will also come and give evidence before the committee, did General Masemola he was obviously aware of the existence of the team, and when he became the National Commissioner, he would have been instrumental in approving the budget for the team. Is that right?
The National Commissioner, when this started, the current National Commissioner was not the head of the organization, so he did not approve the budget.
But subsequently,
he was one of the people that were signatories requesting the budgetary approval. But upon assuming the office of the National Commissioner in 2022, he then became responsible person to allocate funds to the project.
This team Was its membership rotated from time to time? And if so, what was the reason for rotating the membership of the team?
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, when the team started, perhaps maybe what I must give as a background, which I didn't talk about, is that although the existence of this team started after the President made a visit in Pietermaritzburg in May 2018, but the incidence of this violence nature in KZN, it's something that was already in existence for a couple of years prior. And it was a concern already, not only within the provincial leadership or executive in the province, but it was a concern at the national level as well, because it was something that, a crime that was directed towards the leaders of our society, which was a concern. And at that time, the Minister of Police sought to direct that the police must do something extraordinary to handle this. At that time, the Minister of Police was Minister Fikile Mbalula. And they had directed that some intervention must be done to try and correct or arrest this situation that seems to be getting out of control.
Okay, we will rejoin the parliamentary ad hoc committee investigating police corruption in a moment or so.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
EFC is live this Thursday. The man of the people, Delete Wisstason,
If you're inside here and you give up, then you're not supposed to be inside here.
steps up to challenge the Zambian champion, Ken Sekeletu, for his interim EFC featherweight title.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the moment I've been training for. And this is the moment why I came to South Africa.
EFC 128, live from the world's sports betting arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Right, let's rejoin the parliamentary ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. The voice you'll be hearing once again is that of Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Or it was only detectives alone that were working in dealing with those cases. Now, when this team was formed, it had forensic experts in it, it had analysts in it, it had intelligence members that were working in the team, dedicated by different departments within the SAPS. Or divisions within the SAPS. So some of the things that were then observed, Honorable Chair and members, was that there is a lot of corruption within the South African Police Service, detective members that are carrying dockets. And the team then had to deal with trying to eliminate the rogue members within these cases, because some of the members are carrying dockets, and not because of the poor investigation from their side, but it's a deliberate omission of some of the information that must be in the case docket so that the case doesn't go to court. And that led into an arrest of quite a number of police officers that were working in that team. Quite a number of them to date are still in prison. As we engage, giving this evidence with this ad hoc committee, you'll be privy that some of the members are in cahoot, those members arrested that are in prison. Some of them are now in cahoot with some of the honorable members in this parliament, feeding them with information. So when we discover that these members are this corrupt and they get arrested, and then we realize that we cannot then risk to have more members getting corrupted or be recruited and be paid money. So therefore it is important, we must try by all means to rotate them. So the rotation of members was then influenced by that. Although, unfortunately, it was not all the members that needed to be rotated. We'll rotate some of them, and some of them will stay behind. And a typical example, it's not easy to rotate a detective when he's carrying a docket because he's an investigating officer. But what we made sure is that the detective doesn't work alone. He works with a group of other members around him or her so that we prevent any involvement in corruption, as it were. So, yeah, the rotation then took place, and the reason for that rotation was exactly that, what I've explained.
The rotation, did it take place every 6 months or every year? Over what period?
Honorable Chair and members, again, as part of, we put up a plan together and we want to roll it out and have a perfect investigation. But as we realize that we have these bad apples within the SAPS that we try to deal with, we also realize that we have a bad apple within the prosecution that we have to deal with. And we also have bad apples within probably in courts that we have to deal with. We see a case that a team initially, it was said to be going to be working for 6 months. And when the team makes arrest and the cases are brought before court, and the court will schedule a case on the month number 7, when the team's supposed to have stopped. And we then have to request the extension of the team so that the members stay on to continue these cases in court. And when the matter goes to court, when the extension is granted, it's granted for another 6 months. And when this case arrives in court on the month number 7, it gets postponed again to the month number 15, just outside the deployment date. So we then realize that this postponement with timelines, it perhaps that's a reason why they are postponing these cases to days after where the member is supposed to withdraw. We then requested to the National Commission, let's change our strategy, let's not put timelines. Let's just keep the team indefinitely for the whole financial year. And from there, we started seeing cases being enrolled in court because then there was no end date for the team. And then the investigation started happening and cases were then being placed on the court roll.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question about the rotation, because it clearly could or did affect the prosecution of a particular case. If a member was rotated and the prosecution was still pending, it affected the issue of until when do you postpone a matter, and when the matter comes back to court, is the officer concerned now still part of the unit, or has the person been replaced, rotated? I asked the question for that reason. Yeah. So let's just talk about your relationship with Brigadier Khumalo. You know each other well? You would describe yourself as good colleagues?
Honorable Chair members, there are too many Brigadier Khumalos in the South African Police Service. Can maybe SA be specific?
The project leader of the team, PKTT.
Yeah, he's a colleague. The head of crime intelligence you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes, he's a colleague. I know him very well.
So, would you still describe him as he's the project leader of the PKTT?
That's correct.
Notwithstanding the fact that he's also been, or had been appointed as the head of crime intelligence.
That is correct.
Given the very important role that crime intelligence plays throughout the service and for the country, was it feasible for him to continue as the leader of the PKTT, given this very wide and important role he has to play as the head of crime intelligence?
Yeah, Honorable Chair and members, we are giving assignment in the South African Police Service because it's something we do all the time in our careers, that we are having a responsibility in terms of your line function. That's what you're employed for, and that's where you are you're drawing a salary from. But then you're giving other ad hoc projects on the side. Typical example, if I may use a current project that everyone should know about, that the head of the investigation in the province of Western Cape, which is a province that is too much in the media of late with regard to incidents of violence that are happening. But the head of...
Okay, we pause for now. Let's get to the news at 4 with Thondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, committee investigating Mkhwanazi's allegations resumes, and Israel marks 2 years since the October 7th attacks. For SFM News, I'm Ondela and a very good afternoon. Parliament's ad hoc committee probing the allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has resumed and is opened to the public. Chairperson Mulapile Khanyane says the meeting was earlier closed to ensure the statement from Mkhwanazi met the standards of the committee. This morning, the committee first took a break of an hour and then went into a closed meeting to discuss the fact that a supplementary statement would be submitted to the committee and not a statement that was different to the one deposed to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The committee was established to assess the wide-ranging allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference within the criminal justice system made by Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi is the committee's first witness today and tomorrow. Lekhanyane apologized to members of the media for closing the meeting without prior notice.
There were issues that were validly raised by members of parliament, members of this committee, regarding the statement that was presented before this committee and before yourselves. Its quality had to be enhanced to meet the standard that the committee has set.
The evidence leader appointed by Parliament, Advocate Norman Arendse SC, explained that after consultation with Mkhwanazi, the statement has been amended.
Apologies from our side, the evidence presenters, for the delay and the inconvenience caused, and we also thank the General for his patience and his cooperation. We have amended the statement, the original statement, by deleting reference to initial and supplementary, deleting that.
The Madlanga Commission has issued Brown Mokgotsi with a notice that informs him of the allegations placed before the Commission that center him in the alleged unlawful interference of SAPS and its affairs. The notice further informs Mokgotsi of his right to be heard and details his options, which include submitting an affidavit within 5 days of receipt of notice. Should he decline to be heard, the Commission's chairperson can still direct him to respond or to appear before the Commission. Deputy Minister of Transport Mkhuleko Hlengwa has assured the Standing Committee on Public Accounts that they will ensure that the Road Accident Fund complies with the recommendations that will be set by the committee's inquiry. Hlengwa was briefing Scopa at the beginning of the inquiry into the affairs of RAF. The investigation is, among other things, probing allegations of financial mismanagement by the entity. Hlengwa says the probe is running parallel to other legislative reforms.
To the committee of our fullest cooperation to the committee's inquiry, and we look forward to working with the committee in traversing this journey, and we will endeavor as the ministry to make sure that the department and the entity are fully compliant with your expectations. Of course, maybe what I hope the committee will from time to time appreciate is that this process is running parallel to legislative review and reform of the RAF.
The state has told the court that a Limpopo pig farmer, Zachariah Oliver, and his employee, William Mosora, had planned to kill the people who were scavenging at a dumping site. 2 women, Maria Machato and Kudain Ndlovu, were killed, and a third victim escaped with injuries when they were shot at a dumping site at Onverwacht Farm in July last year. Judge Jane Ngobeni says the court will be mandated to impose life imprisonment should the accused be found guilty on the particular charges.
The state says that it was planned or premeditated, and the state also alleges that you acted in the furtherance of a common purpose. And because of that, if you are convicted, if the court convicts you of these 2 counts of murder, the court is mandated to impose life imprisonment upon each one of you.
Hamas has called the day of the October 7 attack a meaningful turning point in the region. Israelis are gathering at memorial events to mark 2 years since Hamas attack in 2023, in which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 others were taken hostage. Israel's war against the militant group has killed more than 67,000 Palestinians, according to the territory's health officials. The BBC's Rushdie Abulov, who is in Istanbul, says local social media accounts are flooded on this anniversary.
Some share photos and videos of their loved ones that they lost during this war. Others were sharing the picture of their beautiful life, their houses, their cars, their nice neighborhoods that once exist in Gaza, not anymore. One of them said this morning that I lost the old version of me, and after I was displaced 7 times and I lost members of my family, I am no longer able to handle this catastrophe.
Recapping the top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee probing the allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has resumed and is opened to the public. I'm Mondilambana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports, Bafana welcomes Sithole Mudau and Sibisi for Friday clash. Leinster set to unleash Lions on Sharks, and Zhang knocks Navarro out of Wuhan Open. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Pretoria is a crash at the R21 highway. The M1 southbound slow moving towards Crown Interchange, and on Main Reef Road in Brakpan, protest action including burning tyres between Weltevreden Landfill and Elliott Street Circle. The road's been closed off and you're encouraged to use alternative routes. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash reported, as well as a stationary truck after Umgeni Road, and on the N2 northbound, a stationary truck before Umgeni Road. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock, and Main Road outbound in Observatory slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Press that to cockpit medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
He's signing off on cheap parts they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Mthatha.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I find this very amusing. I'm looking at a message from Dan who sent me a text message saying, "Hi Ashraf, listening to Parliament's ad hoc committee is like watching Serie B. But when listening to the Madlanga Commission, it's like watching Serie A." Okay. I never much thought about that at all. I tell you what, we should be talking education in just a moment. There's a big issue developing with regarding to teachers or teacher aides being paid or not being paid, and we'll try and connect about that soon. Let's see if we can, in the meantime, get reaction from you. We will dip in once again when we get the chance into the Parliament's ad hoc committee. Okay, so we'll investigating police corruption. So we'll do that later on. But in fact, let's now get to this big issue that should concern you, right, and everyone. In fact, there's been an ongoing issue between the Department of Employment and Labour on the one hand, as well as the Department of Basic Education. Why? Well, it involves the payment of education assistance. So think about it, not the teacher as you would know it, but an education assistant. So the Deputy Minister of the Department of Employment and Labour, Jomo Sibiya, spoke to us this morning on the morning brief, and this is what was said.
I must say it's regrettable and unfortunate that we are here today and we have to discuss such a matter in a manner that we have to discuss it, which is not progressive and assisting. One, I'm not going to go into the infighting or finger-pointing game for now because I think what is important is for us to deal with the situation at hand and make sure that the teacher assistants who haven't been paid until this day are paid urgently and quickly. So it's, but I must say this to Lasigo because accountability must take place. People must account on what happened. I'm not saying I'm not going to discuss it because I'm avoiding it completely, but one thing I can assure the listeners is that we will deal with the issues of consequence management in a very, very harsh way because this is so unfortunate. This is a program that is noble, meant to assist young people who are unemployed, to give them on-job training, but also to assist them to have some jobs, which is a job training part of skills development, which now has frustrated them. Some of them have got literally nothing. Some of them have to pay rent and everything. So what we have done so far is that we have been working around the clock since the weekend, but yesterday we called an urgent meeting at night with the Minister of Basic Education, Mr. Kwahube, to deal with this matter and get the briefing on the progress that has been made because we've been in contact the whole weekend and the beginning of this week. So we met with the DGs and the technical teams from the departments, from Department of Employment and Labour, Basic Education, but also UIF, which is part of Department of Employment and Labour, an entity that is holding these funds that are funding this program because the program is funded by the department. So also IDC. IDC is the one that disperses this money to the beneficiaries this time around, which is the teacher assistant. So there are those who dropped the ball along the line. But what is important is that we need to pay these teacher assistants and we must be sympathetic. And we are very sympathetic and apologetic that we haven't paid them.
It's commendable, Deputy Minister, that you don't want to engage in the blame game. But as you say, accountability must be, ensured in all of this. You saying that you're going to ensure consequence management suggests that you are able to pinpoint where the ball was dropped. This is a program that's run in collaboration by the institutions and departments you just mentioned. Where was the ball dropped?
I must say that maybe let me just take you through the process and you'll see. I will say it. How this process works is that as the Department of Employment and Labour, we bring funding into this entire program. And the Department of Education is expected to submit registers to UIF. These registers are meant to exactly deal with the issues of accountability, to check who are we paying, how many people are we paying, were they all in attendance, do we have people who are deceased, maybe who started the program in June and by July they're deceased, but we continue to pay them even if they were. It's meant for that, for accounting purposes. As you know how public management, how public finances are managed at Tulasizu. So we have to observe all those things, but not removing in mind that we are dealing with human beings. But the issue of accountability is important. So those registers need to be submitted on time, 15 days before we pay. And when they are submitted to UIF then, in fact, IDC will then invoice UIF, and UIF will release the funds to IDC, and IDC pays. So in this time around, the reality is that registers were not submitted on time, and we've got an agreement, an LSA, that says all parties have the responsibilities to take. We have our own responsibility, which is to make sure that the money is released, and UIF IDC has the responsibility to pay. Basic education has got a responsibility to submit the registers. So all of us, we must observe all these obligations. Then along the way, these obligations were not met amongst us, and we are going to deal with those who didn't observe the obligation to Latizo. I can assure you on that.
Okay, and that is the Deputy Minister of the Department of Employment and Labour. So that's one department, Employment and Labour, the other is Education, and that's Jomo Sibia speaking to Tulas this morning. Right, let's take this issue further, because really we need to get to the bottom of it with Terence Khanna, the Department of Basic Education Media and Relations Officer. Terence, thanks for your time here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and good afternoon to all the listeners.
Thank you. Now, this sounds like, I'm thinking about people listening in, and they hear the issue of teachers and then teacher assistants or education assistants, and they can't seem to quite understand what it is. But at the bottom line of all of this is that some people are not being paid who ought to be paid, I understand, and it's put at risk their finances, but also compromise education. Now, am I missing something here?
Well, Ashraf, it is an unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in. I think what's important to note is that our assistants have really come to the party in terms of assisting the sector. First and foremost, I think some of the listeners might remember when we dealt with the devastating realities of COVID-19 and how the assistants came in to help us safely unlock the sector and restart schooling again. So obviously for us to get to phase 5 and find ourselves in this unfortunate situation is one that is untenable. But the assistants have really played a very, very significant role in assisting the department to really find fluid ways of working, but also assisting the teachers within the classroom itself. Assisting with some of the administrative tasks and just ensuring that teaching and contact time continues to be protected. So for us, obviously, finding ourselves in this unfortunate situation is not the one that we wanted to be in, but we believe that yesterday's deliberations and the deliberations that have continued, the all hands on deck approach that's been taken by all three entities involved in this initiative has really brought us to a position where we can be able to come forward to the nation with a little bit of positivity in terms of having found positive ways to be able to move forward.
All right. When you say it's unfortunate, I hear you, but often when we say unfortunate, it's almost like there's a sense of helplessness, like, that nothing much can be done. Just help us understand this. What for you is the core issue here? I know this money is not being paid, but there's a greater issue here. What is the core around why we're having this problem of education assistants not getting paid?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ashraf. I think the key significant change that's been made is the allocation of biometric systems that have been put in place. So some of the challenges relate to that in terms of how we then come back and not necessarily quantify, but regulate the people that are within the system and the initiative itself. I think I'll lean towards what the Deputy Minister mentioned in terms of us obviously avoiding the elements of paying people that might have deceased or people that have submitted documentation that unfortunately doesn't meet the muster. So unfortunately that is the crux of the challenge. But obviously with regards to the engagements that we've been having with our colleagues, we have been able to come to a point where we can really find each other and be able to remember that at the forefront of this are young people whose lives have been adversely affected. And I think to this effect, the ministers will jointly tomorrow, the Minister of Basic Education and the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, host a media briefing tomorrow where we'll be able to then announce the steps that we've been able to take, but also just take the nation into our confidence with regards to how we've managed to come through this process of the non-payment of the September stipends for our assistants.
So just to be clear, it's not about a case of no budget, no money. It's a case of, as you said, effectively an identification issue around the technicality, and that's caused the problem.
Certainly, Ashraf. I think I want to reiterate that it definitely isn't the issue of a lack of funding. I think it's just about making sure that the funding is dispersed to the correct people at the correct times. As mentioned, that some of the processes have worked against us, but obviously what's important for us is to be able to work together, hold hands, and take an all-of-government approach that allows us to be able to come out on the other side, number one, with better systems, but number two, with an ability to be able to take stock of what necessarily has not gone so well and what has brought us to this point development and how we can avoid that, really just to make sure that this initiative, which really continues to be a flagship initiative of the department, can really continue to take hold. I mean, our assistants have really assisted us in moving the sector forward and in really driving that positivity within our schools. We have reading assistants within there that are helping us to champion reading within the classroom. So they really are assisting not only the sector but schools themselves to really be more positive in their output and really make sure that every child within those schools is able to get a better opportunity at a quality education.
And just to conclude, I mean, you're saying there will be this briefing tomorrow, but so has a deal been struck or is it still being negotiated?
Look, I mean, Ashraf, last night's meeting was very progressive. We had a couple of hours within that meeting and very well steered by Deputy Minister Sbiya and Minister Kwahube, really in terms of taking that initiative to make sure that the powers that be and the administrators, the technical people within the program really put their heads together to find a way forward. So what will be announced by the Minister and the Deputy Minister tomorrow is a positive movement forward. But I think I want that briefing to be able to give to the nation the positivity that has come out of this, but also just that confidence once more in the ability of government to be able to deliver on programs of this nature.
And that's where we can leave it. Terence Kala, the Department of Basic Education Media Relations Officer. And I would think, understandably, central to all of this is the impact on the people, the education assistants. So what about them? I mean, you could well be them. And if that's the case, I want to hear your story. So how about you calling in and telling us 086 000 2032 to call in live, and then WhatsApp 0614 104 107. I mean, you have a story. When these botches occur, you have a story because you didn't get paid. How do you resolve it? Show me the money is what you're asking, aren't you?
This October month, SFM shines a light on mental health awareness. This month, we bring you conversations that break the stigma, encourage care, and provide strategies to protect your mental well-being. Because it's okay not to be okay. And together, we can build a healthier tomorrow. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
There's so many people who are disgruntled about something or the other. COSATU's, they're observing a national day of action across the country. We'll touch on that just now. And then, if you're talking about one aspect of education around money, well, what about another? Let's talk about KZN's disturbing reports about alleged instability in the public school system. Recent reports suggest that the province's Department of Education is not doing well at all. And therefore, there are many, many questions around the quality of education and the impact that may have. So let's find out more about it with a sense of disillusionment, I would think, from many people. But with me is V. Gunny, who's the chairperson of the KwaZulu-Natal Parents Association. V, thank you for joining us on the National Pulse.
Hi, thank you very much, Ashraf. Thank you for having me.
All right. How, I mean, it's interesting. We've spoken about parents being, there's a disturbing issue about being disgruntled about schooling. What is your perspective as the chairperson of the KZN Parents Association? How would you describe the state of education, public education in your province?
I've said this before, and I think it's quite alarming. For some time now, we've been told, there's budget cuts, which affects the quality of education. We've got large class sizes. We've got infrastructure failing in a number of schools. And you could see that, problem is how do you deliver quality education in an environment where you don't have the basic necessities, and in some schools, not even electricity. I mean, there's one school where the principal's actually got an extension line from the neighbor coming into the school just to get some electricity into the school. Now, how do you then deliver quality education in an environment where the resources are not there? And the resources are a number of things, Ashraf. It's for one, you've got money. Because, with money, you can do a lot of things. The schools and the education department tells us very, very often, look, it's budget cuts, we don't have the money. Within the education department itself, you've got so many posts that are vacant. People are acting in those posts. Just in one district, we've had a governance unit of 13 people that belong to a particular unit. which is now 2 or 1 people. I think there's 2 persons, if not 1 person that is there. And when we ask about it, it's like, we don't have the money to pay, we don't have this, we don't have that. Now, when we go back, we see that it's been happening for a while. We know that there have been budget cuts, but we also know that we've been asking for quality education in schools, and that's not been achieved. Right now, we've had a problem with the matric papers that are coming through, and there was certain things. Do they have enough money to print the matric papers?
So, in terms of your concerns, I mean, the reality is, as I talk to you, I would think that people around the country, and there are many people from, Gauteng or the Eastern Cape or Northern Cape and other provinces all listening, Limpopo too, it's like, hey, but he's talking about us too. It's not just KZN. Meaning there's an issue and there's budget cut issues that impact service delivery across the board, education being one of them, right? Now, I'm asking that because I would take it that you've raised this issue with the relevant departments or even the relevant, minister or provincial MEC in that region, right? Has they told you anything that suggests that they've got a handle on this, or in fact, is it going to be a case of more of the same?
Well, it's 2 things that really happened. One is the fact that we said, look, it's happening around the country. This is true, except that KZN and our norms and standards, which is the allocations that are given by the Department of Education, I'm talking about the National Department of Education, around the province in terms of a learner, KZN falls below that. Okay, KZN falls far below that, which means that we're not even getting in KZN the actual norms and standards allocation as mandated by the Schools Act. We are getting it much lower than that. So that is one which impacts negatively on the ground. The second thing is that the constant excuse that we get is, look, we don't have the money, and because salaries take up so much more of the budget that there's not enough left for infrastructure. And our schools are old, so at times the schools are, it's breaking. There's infrastructure problems, and the Department of Education does not constantly tell us they don't have the money to do those things. I mean, you would have known not too long ago, learner transport was affected. Not too long ago, there was the NSNP, the National Schools Nutrition Program, that was affected. So ultimately, you find that quality has been affected on the ground. And when you speak to the Department of Education, the only thing that they can tell you is, look, that they are trying, but it's just how the situation is. There have been budget cuts, and as a result of that, they don't have the funds to be able to employ people within the education department, nor fix the schools.
But you see, that point is exactly the reality, which is, I can speak to the Minister of Health, and he will talk about the same issues around why they can't hire more doctors. There's no budgets, and it's like, say what you want, we just can't do it. So it's not your issue, and it's certainly not his. But the reality is that's a reflection of so many things in the country. So therefore, what options do you have? Because you're representing parents and learners in this case here. What options do you have besides articulating your position, maybe one-on-one, and also now you're doing it on national radio?
Well, you see, the problem is that, and you're right, it's a national problem. In KZN, this is the way I look at it, Ashraf, is that you've got to invest in education. Those are the leaders, the future leaders of our country. And if we don't invest in that, then we basically destroying education. As parents, and there are a number of parents who've raised issues, what's happening? We've got, and I must tell you this, we've got a society where you've got a high unemployment rate. So the issue of maintaining those schools, and I think this is where the government itself has abdicated their responsibilities, because what they've done in essence is put the sustenance of schools squarely on the hands of governing bodies. And governing bodies now have to ensure that they've got enough teachers in the classes, they've got enough resources, they've got the lights working and the water working, and that they've got the textbooks, they've got the infrastructure. If something breaks, they have to repair it. And those funds are coming from the communities. And then you're looking at, but they've also got high unemployment. So in public schools, more public schools I've seen, the recovery of school fee is so low because of the social ills and evils and stuff like that that's happening within the communities. You find that, You're on a treadmill. You're just going round and round and round. Let me add one more thing.
Yeah.
You find that last week, the National Minister of Education, the Minister of Education, she was down in KZN as well. And together with the Premier and together with the MEC for Finance, looking at ways and means of how they can restore the education system in KZN back to some kind of sustainability. I haven't heard anything concrete come out of those meetings, so I'm not even sure, what discussions took place there and what kind of intervention methods and interventions were put in place to ensure that the case of KZN's education system collapsing is kind of just, thwarted.
Well, on that ominous note, thank you for your time, V. Ghani, the chairperson of the KwaZulu-Natal Parents Association. Huge concerns about education in the country generally, but anecdotally, there's a sense that it's even worse in KZN. So do you live in that region? What about you and your children? What's happening as a learner, maybe as an educator? What about that? What do you feel about the state of education in your province? Let's get to the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Parliament's ad hoc committee probing the allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has resumed and is opened to the public. Chairperson Mulapile Khanyane says the meeting was earlier closed to ensure the statement from Mkhwanazi met the standards of the committee. The High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo has heard and accepted as evidence the affidavit made by accused number 1 Zakaria Oliver to police. And after 2 years of war, there is a chance of a deal that will end the killing and destruction in Gaza and return the Israeli hostages, living and dead, to their families. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hoos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Sunninghill has a crash reported after Winnie Mandela Drive. On the N1 southbound in Pretoria, a crash at the R21 highway. All lanes are open. The N17 southbound is where fatal crash is reported before Soweto Highway, and Main Road in Bryanston has a crash reported near Robin Road. In KZN, on the N2, a crash south of Hluhluwe, the road's closed, causing some serious delays. And on the N2 northbound, a crash after the M25 Commercial Highway. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a stationary vehicle at Koeberg interchange. The M5 southbound slow moving towards Milner Road. Albert Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock, and the N2 is slow moving through Somerset West. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
All right, Chumi, what you're still talking Bafana?
Yeah, Bafana will. They will welcome back some key players Friday for the team that won the bronze medal at the AFCON last year. This is including Spepelo Sitole, Khuliso Mudau, and Nkosinathi Sibisi. And Coach Bruce says that this boosts the confidence of the team.
I'm very happy with the guys who are back. I think if you see the games of Chiefs, I think that the duty is someone who has an action, he knows where to run when there is a space. For me, his best position is behind the striker. So if we use him, it will be on that position. When I call 23 players, I count on everyone, and I always say, several times I said already to the group that, okay, those guys who start the game are important, but those on the bench are even more important.
Well, then, Sekhukhune United coach Eric Tinkler plans to use the FIFA break to carefully analyze his team's recent dip in form after what had been a promising start to the season. Babina Nogo suffered another cup setback at the weekend, bowing out at the Culling knockout with a 3-1 defeat away to Golden Arrows. Now, the results compounded a difficult run in which they also dropped points in 2 Betway Premiership matches prior. And Tinkler has now seen 2 major cup opportunities, including the MTN 8 slipping away and he says that he intends to do a thorough review. Elsewhere, Manchester City defender John Stones says that he considered retiring last season as he struggles to cope with recurring injury problems. Stones spent most of the last campaign on the sidelines due to foot and hamstring injuries. The 31-year-old made just 24 appearances for City and England before the season ended prematurely in February. Then in rugby, Leinster are set to unleash several of their British and Irish Lions stars against the Sharks at Aviva Stadium on Saturday after suffering back-to-back defeats to the Stormers and Bulls on a bruising tour of South Africa. The defending Vodacom URC winners are desperate to kickstart their campaign at the third attempt. The Irish Giants collected just a single log point from their 2-week trip, leaving them second from the bottom on the table, one spot behind the Sharks, who themselves are still chasing a first win of the season. In tennis, wild card Shuang Zhang pulled off a stunning upset over 14th seed Emma Navarro, winning 6-2, 2-6 and 6-3 in the first round encounter today. Zhang, who is ranked number 142, surged to a 5-game streak on the opening set, then weathered a fierce Navarro comeback that saw the American win 32 of 37 points during a dominant stretch. But just when Navarro looked poised to complete the turnaround, Zhang flipped the script, winning 6 straight games to seal her 23rd career top 20 victory. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
All right, perfect. And certainly counting down to that Bafana game on Friday night. It is such a critical match. No matter what you do, watch it against Zimbabwe.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And with me with all those numbers is Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. You've got news local and global, but let's start with Afrimat.
Yes, Ashraf, their interim trading update, they expect their profits to go up by 95% and due to improved sales volumes in construction materials with enhanced operational efficiency and the acquired Lafarge that they acquired in Q2 and the recovery of previously lost market share, a significant increase in local iron ore sales volume. Although a very small part of the group, orders from the agricultural sector arrived late, and that is due to delayed rainfall and subsequent planting. Ashraf, equities worldwide have surged to successive record highs, and a flood of AI-related deals among chip makers has propelled shares higher and fueled some concerns of a speculative bubble reminiscent of the late 1990 dot-com era. But at the same time, other traders are warning against fighting their current AI trade. Political upheaval in Japan and France continue to be on the radar screens, and another vote in the US Senate is expected today on a stopgap measure to fund the government, and locally SARS collected 9 billion rands more than they expected. That is at they collected 1.85 trillion, boosted by strong performance in personal income and corporate taxes, especially from finance sector. And remember, finance sector makes up nearly a quarter of our GDP, and gold glitters as global political uncertainty leaves market participants looking for safe haven assets, though others are concerned that investors are starting to view yellow metal as a safer asset than the US dollar. But hey, here we are, gold to breach 4,000 for the first time ever before retreating. Now is up 0.3% at $3,973. Platinum down 0.4% at 1,623. Oil prices are falling after gaining sharply in the previous session as traders weigh the impact of the smaller than expected OPEC Plus output hike. And we see Brent crude is down 0.6% at $65 a barrel. And Ashraf, a surefire invest in rural role has always been don't fight the Fed. The same seems true to the powerful AI trade in stocks, but the JSE is down 0.6%, dragged down by resources. Remember, we don't have enough stocks on the local pools we have direct exposure to AI, and the rent is weakened 0.3% against the dollar 17.21, 23.08 against the pound, and 20.06 against the euro.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that, Makwe. We'll connect with you again tomorrow. Jimmy Moya takes over from 6 to 7 with the SAFM market update. Do not miss that 1 hour deep dive into the markets that move us. Absolutely. This is the National Pulse.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Okay, let's get to your thoughts, right? And that issue of the education assistant has certainly evoked a response from many people, including you.
Hello, Ashraf. Mukoni here in Secunda. If there's one thing I've learned about our country, if money is not going to the right people, it's definitely going to someone. You know, this issue of teaching assistants not getting their remuneration is very disheartening. It's interesting that they want to apply due diligence now, but millions have been disbursed to people who are tenderpreneurs who are supposed to do work and execute work. They've already received millions, and there's nothing to show for it.
Because of that, there's nothing to show. Well, there are certainly so many issues of compromise in our country, right?
Hi, Ashraf and the team and the listeners. It's Dee from Velcom. It's sad to hear in 2025 that teacher assistants are still having troubles getting paid. My son had the same problem in 2023 when he started with them, and then it was extended till the end of the year. Then in the following year, January 2024, he was called back again to the school because it was extended again. He ended up resigning in February or March because every time he was there for 2 months, they wouldn't be paid. And for 2 months, there's no money. And he's trying to do things for himself. Ever since he resigned, he's now home, still trying to find a job. And there were no biometrics issues back then. Nobody was explaining why they are not getting paid on time. It's very sad.
Well, you see, that's the point that, sometimes on the show and other shows, we talk about the issues and we speak to the issues, the decision makers. And then very often we forget or we omit to hear the voice of the people, how they are affected, not what they think, but how they are directly affected. And that call is just one example of that.
Good day, Ashraf and the listeners. Sean here. I just wanted to say it's very disheartening to hear about the educator assistants. So the question is, how would parliamentarians actually react, or how would they feel if their salaries were delayed, if there were challenges with regards to payment of their salaries? I think, accountability needs to take place. Somebody needs to be held accountable. It's about time. No, it's too much.
Okay, I think you know the answer. Whatever the answer of that rhetorical question is, how would parliamentarians react?
Ashraf, I'm getting so nauseated and gut-wrenched when Mkhwanazi is being questioned like that. Well, it's a good thing, but meanwhile, our president has indicated that the results of this commission will not be binding. Think of that, Ashraf. Think of that. Isn't it gut-wrenching, nauseating? Thanks, Willie Nkuma.
Okay, nauseating. So Willie's feels what many others are thinking. Now, here's an interesting one from Brian. Let me pick up on that one. And Brian saying, because it's got me thinking, Ashraf, the teacher's assistant can mean another way of cleaning money laundering in the Department of Education. Panyaza Lusufi needs to tell us the truth. It's not the first time before elections, same situations from Brian Mabaya from Project Glen. Brian, I hear you, but are you saying that they're not paying these assistants because of a form of money laundering? Or I just need to understand, what do you mean? Or should they not be paid at all? What are you saying?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. Mbongo Sundisa Mboyisa. Mr. Ashraf, I really don't see any need for assistant teachers. They are there to do what? To be sent go fetch like chalkboard from the principal's office. Okay, can you cut these children? I'm going to the bathroom. Hi, man, it's useless. This thing. Use those people like on the street. Let them patrol the street. Cars are being like it's messy. People are cell phones are getting robbed. Please. He must patrol the streets. And then the other thing, Mr. Ashraf, as for Julius Malema, he's not there to assist the commission, but there to bully Mkwanas and to score cheap political points. Thanks.
Okay, well, he's got a purpose in that parliamentary committee. So it's not like he's just walking past and decided I'm going to go and bully someone. I mean, they have a role to play. So here's another one. Hi, Intati Ashraf. Okay, thank you for that. I work as an EA, so education assistant, I would think, right? And I'm affected by this payment delay. Well, thank you for messaging, because I think that's the story. I want to hear the human story. This was the message we got from our school. They said, and the person has sent a screen grab of the message. They said payment will be made on the 7th. So I'm confused because I heard the deputy mentioning they're going to have a meeting tomorrow with the stakeholders involved. Can you please ask, when are we going to get paid? Because it's really painful, because I can't pay rent. And it's like I'm making excuses to my landlord. Well, at least just tell your landlord you just told your story on national radio, and we've got the sound bites to prove it, right? And yeah, it's got there. Please be advised that the stipends for September and the 25% special schools transport allocation will be paid on the 7th of October. And then it says, in fact, this payment applies only to the 25 high schools in our district. So this, I would assume, would be the district directly involved by that person. Right, let's put that on pause, and let's see if we can update you as well in terms of the issues around the Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. Not quite now, just now, but there's another sense of dissatisfaction and disillusionment. What about COSATU observing a national day of action? Why are they doing so? What's their end goal? We'll find out next.
This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
This message brought to you by Chuba, the operator of the National Lottery. So, Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rands? So, estimated jackpot, well, for today, right? So don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand for your chance at winning the big billions. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.co.za or the mobile app, cell phone banking, or you can dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Chuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Okay, talking about protests, when we have teachers or parents who are disgruntled and dissatisfied, and we have others who are not getting paid, what about COSATU and where do they fit in? Well, they've been observing a national day of action across the country. In Gauteng, they're holding a picket outside Tembisa Hospital, demanding accountability following the recent SIU report on the looting of 2 billion rands at the facility. It's an issue we did cover, right? There's also a march in Cape Town. So let's find out more about what's happening in the Western Cape in particular. We have the COSATU Western Cape Provincial Secretary, Malvin de Bruyn. Malvin, thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you, Ryan. So what is this form of, well, it's a national day of action, but let's zoom in on the Western Cape Day of Action from where you are now. Why?
Yes, we had a successful march this afternoon where we marched to the provincial legislature, handing over memorandum. Also handed over memorandum to the Speaker of the National Parliament. From there, we marched to the provincial legislature, to the city of Cape Town. We handed over memorandum to the mayor of the city of Cape Town.
Okay, and what was the nature of the memorandum?
The memorandum talked to the question of the National Decent Work Day. We raised the question of job losses in our country, the question of decent work. And at the city of Cape Town, we dealt with the question of high water tariffs, electricity tariffs, and also the anti-poor budget that was bulldozed through council a couple of months ago.
All right. Why? I mean, it's interesting in terms of where you see. What do you see COSATU's role in all of this? Because at your core, you're a union that deals with workers, but of course, many very often it extends into other issues, right? So, what do you see your purpose and in terms of your end goal? Because one thing is giving a memo, but you want to see results.
Yes, definitely we want to see results because we want to look at the city of Cape Town. What we've seen currently, we've got the one looks at the bills of our consumers in the city. You've seen the high water tariffs, you see the high electricity tariffs. So we said to the city of Cape Town that they need to review the current stance that they have, the current position, and to have a moratorium on all these high tariffs, cut the tariffs on the payment for our consumers, and also to have a better safety plan because they do have a law enforcement agency or law enforcement structure, but they don't play the role that they should play. You only see the law enforcement in affluent areas and not in the real colored and black areas where we find the real crime.
Question, how different is this from other problems in the country? It could be similar issues, but how different is it?
The one looks at the current scenario in the Western Cape, especially when it comes to crime. We've always been seen as a murder capital in the world, and the level of crime is such a level that it's out of hand, it's uncontrollable. And as Labour, we are of the view that we've got the social responsibility to ensure that we put pressure on the authorities to ensure that there are better crime structures, crime organizations in place to fight crime in our city.
Okay. Just the last thing, in terms of the memo that you've sent, right, has there been a response as yet?
Come again?
In terms of the memo that you sent and delivered, right, has there been a response today to it?
No, what we said, we only delivered the memorandum today.
Right.
And the memorandum is very clear that we said to them we wanted a favorable response within 14 days, especially when it comes to the question of the moratorium on job losses, on retrenchments. We want the city of the province to abolish EPWP workers, the system that has been abused by the city and the province. So we're saying that we don't want EPWP workers, we want real jobs, we want decent jobs for the people of the Western Cape. We also raise the question of crime as well.
All right, just the last thing. So fine. I mean, sometimes you can receive a memo and say, fine, we acknowledge it, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks' time. Or they could say something, fine, I guess they didn't. But here's the important part in terms of the moratorium on jobs and things. What is your understanding of the Western Cape government's ability to deliver on your demands, keeping in mind that they will say there are inevitably budget restraints, which there are across the country anyway?
No, I think we're sitting here with a provincial government that don't care about the people of this province. Sitting with a city that don't care. If one looks at the budget is pro for the affluent areas. The budget don't talk to the bottom brother issues on the ground of working class families. You can go into the predominantly white areas or the affluent areas where they will see better services that they don't find in the greater part of the Western Cape. Although they are saying that Cape Town is a better run city, then that's a myth because we see real service deliveries flaws in the city. And the question of job creation, the DA can provide better jobs because what they're now doing in the cities, like they're replacing real jobs with EPWP jobs. They're making use of labor brokers that is basically exploiting the working class. So they can do better in terms of job creation. They can do better in terms of providing proper security for people in the province and the city.
Okay, what happens if, as per your memo, that the Western Cape government authorities do not adhere to your requests and demands? Then what happens next?
What will happen then, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and have call executive meetings again to discuss the outcomes of discuss the report or the responses from the city and the province, and then based on that we'll have to do a proper informed decision to see whether there's a need to take further action, because it will be very clear to the city to say that if you're not happy with the outcomes of their response, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a better plan of action to ensure that they listen to the working class, that they listen to the people of the province and of the people of the city.
Okay, got that. Malvin de Bruin, the COSATU Western Cape Provincial Secretary. Appreciate you giving of your time here on the National Pulse.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's hear from you. I need to hear more thoughts, and I'm very interested in, the personal story. When we talk about education aids, assistance in this case here, how does it affect you when you find that your monies were not received and it's like the 7th of the month and you still haven't received your monies? How does that change your life and how do you feel about it? And maybe if it's not you directly, it could be somebody like, a relative, somebody from your same home, and what that means for you. But not just that, you've been maybe perhaps watching and following the proceedings in Parliament, the Parliament Ad Hoc Committee investigating police corruption, very similar in many ways, some may say, to the Madlanga Commission, and there's been a big debate about that this morning, and therefore the delays to say it appears that General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's statement was really an addition to effectively a copy and paste of what he delivered or dropped at the Madlanga Commission, and that's not acceptable. And he's doing it now anyway. But beyond that, just the tone that you pick up, do you see it any differently in terms of how he's talking, in terms of the questions being put to him? I wonder what you make of that. Right, but let's do this. I want to get your thoughts now. To call in 086 000 2032. First-time callers, you're always welcome. Tell me so I can just welcome you on the show. But the regulars, well, you definitely are welcome. Tell me too so I can say hi to you. WhatsApp 0614 104 107. You can tweet as well, by the way. So here's the issue of Malema.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, as long as Malema is part of the ad hoc committee, there's still going to be a problem. Remember, Julius Malema has been saying, he doesn't trust Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi, he might be lying somewhere. And that is why today, this morning, he's the one who dragged this whole thing to be in his favor, because they don't want Madlanga Commission and stuff. No. This Julius Malema, man, he must stop being too much of intellectual and allow other people to can live, man.
Okay, I wonder how you differentiate between the two. I hear what you're saying. Here's another comment on education.
Hey, Ashraf, the job of an assistant teacher that I've had experience with when I had a relative child who was struggling with reading. The job of the assistant teacher was to gather the children that were struggling with reading and took them through phonics and teach them how to read, while the other teacher, who's faced also with a large number of children, did not have the time to teach children step by step reading. So really your caller is being facetious and out of order, actually. It's Bongi here.
Thank you for that. Well, point made from Sis Bongi. Right, here another.
Afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners of SAFM. This is Claranipo the Artisan. I just want to make a comment relating to EAs, educator assistants. In 2019, I was retained from employment as an electrical technician, held a position for a couple of months, and I must say, the work that they do is commendable. For instance, we delivered vital classroom support by efficiently preparing and organizing educational material, prepared tech for seamless classroom sessions, organized materials to enhance learning efficiency, strengthen classroom support, improving outcomes, optimize resources availability for teachers. I spent most of my time in the in the staff room preparing papers and question papers, because most of the teachers you'll find they're not computer illiterate. So these younger generations of EAs, they're very important in aiding the schooling system. It makes life for the teachers easier, and they're able to notice if the learner is slow to pick up, so they can alert the teachers, and you begin to pay more attention to them, thereby growing the child.
Okay, got that. So much to reflect on from that comment. Here's another to reflect on. Good day, SAFM. I prefer to be anonymous, as I am one of the assistants. I'd like to comment on the issue of the EAs and GAs stipend issues. The issue of registers was brought to us on the 29th of September. That's 2 days before we get paid. It was not brought to us 15 days before. Just imagine the stress that comes with non-payments. It's very disappointing to hear these leaders saying, 15 days before payment. And there's more.
Kansi, why are we still looking for jobs in this country, Ashraf? Why are we still looking to create more jobs? Why are we acting as if like jobs are the solution of the unemployed in this country? We don't need jobs anymore, Ashraf. We need an economic foundation. We need to level the playing field first, Ashraf. You cannot begin from zero to hero in the economic world, Ashraf. It's impossible.
But I'm trying to understand you when you say we need to level the playing field first. At some stage when that field is level, you still want jobs, do you? Because not everybody's going to be their own boss. We just do need more and more people, whether you want to call it full-time jobs, part-time jobs, more people that needs to earn revenue and less dependence on the state or, for grants or from charitable institutes. They need to be able to earn an income, all of us. So isn't that a good thing in terms of deciding that? Now you can decide what the right strategy may be, but the principle, wouldn't that be correct? Okay, let's get the news. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg.
Thank you, Ashraf. Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee opens hearings to the public and remembering October 7th. Good day to you. Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee probing allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner Ntshantshi Mkhwanazi of corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system has resumed and is open to the public. Committee Chairperson Mulapi Lekhanyane says the meeting was earlier closed to ensure the statement from Mkhwanazi met the standards of the committee. The committee went into a closed meeting to discuss the fact that a supplementary statement would be submitted to the committee and not a statement that was different to the one deposed to the Matlanga Commission. Mkhwanazi is the committee's first witness. Lekhanyane apologized to members of the media.
There were issues that were validly raised by members of parliament, members of this committee, regarding the statement that was presented before this committee and before yourselves. Its quality had to be enhanced to meet the standard that the committee has set.
The Road Accident Fund says some of the claims lodged by road accident victims expire due to the lapse in time required to process them. It revealed this at an inquiry being conducted by the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament. The fund's Seppo Mwisi.
So the process of finalizing a claim requires that that's why in direct claimants, then the RF would appoint those kind of people on behalf of a direct claimant. But when somebody has opted to go for a law firm, then the law firm would then take them through those assessments. And once those kind of documents are submitted to the RAF, it's then the RAF can make an assessment of the claim. But of course, RAF also has a right to appoint their own experts to finalize the claim, or rather to interact or to do the investigation, rather, in terms of the levels of injuries that this person is having.
Western Cape Government says it will respond to a list of demands which it received in a memorandum from COSATU within 14 days. COSATU's demands include that a moratorium be placed on all retrenchments and an end to outsourcing of workers. The Trade Union Federation handed over the memorandum to the Western Cape Government following a march in Cape Town. Director General in the Premier's office, Harry Malila.
Thank you for the memorandum. We will definitely respond within 14 days. But maybe just one thing from our side is that we have a plan in this government to invest in shutdown jobs. We call it the Growth for Jobs plan. We want to grow the economy by 3.5% and we want to create 600,000 jobs by 2035.
The High Court in Johannesburg has postponed City Power's urgent interdict against the Hawks to Friday. This is to allow the Hawks time to file outstanding affidavits. The Hawks raided City Power's headquarters following an alleged irregular tender worth at least 67 million rand for the procurement of transformers. City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena.
We had a few visits by other officers from the Hawks this year. In August, we had the first visit without a warrant. They are looking for the same information that we have provided. And a few weeks ago, around the 17th of September, they also came again. And this time, they also indicated that they've got other information that they were looking for. So we believe that this is really bordering on harassment. And that's why we want this to be stopped.
After 2 years of war, there's a chance of a deal to end the killing and destruction in Gaza and return the Israeli hostages living and dead to their families. The October 7th attacks in 2023 killed more than 1,200 people, with 251 people taken hostage. The Israelis estimate that 20 hostages are still alive and they want the return of the bodies of 28 others from Hamas. The BBC's Lise Doucette has more.
October the 7th is a day of profound reflection here in Israel about events which so many Israelis say changed this country forever, describing it as the bloodiest day in Israel's history. It's also a day of profound reflection, difficult reflection for Palestinians, because the events of October the 7th triggered a war which has been unprecedented as well in every way in the Gaza Strip, a war which has left the territory in utter ruin. The majority of more than 2 million Palestinians displaced time and again.
Top story. Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner has resumed and is open to the public. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Hus.
In sports this hour, huge prize purse for Region 5 marathon winners. Mohopa replaces Rainers in Bafana squad, and Leinster set to unleash Lions on Sharks. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The R21 northbound in Kempton Park has a stationary truck at Voortrekker Road, the N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards Samrand Road, and the N3 southbound in Bedfordview, a crash at Van Buren Road. In KZN on the N2, a crash south of Tlhuluwe, the road's closed, queuing traffic. On the N2 southbound, a stationary truck after Umgeni Road. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound, queuing between Epping and Langa. Plattekloof Road eastbound has a stationary vehicle reported on the ramp to the N1 outbound, and on the N1 outbound, a stationary vehicle reported at Coburg Interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to the Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.2 FM in Table Mountain.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, we should be crossing to the Free State MEC for Finance shortly, and we will dip into the goings on in Parliament as well, right? But just for now, let's hear your thoughts on, again, the issues that has moved the National Pulse today.
Ashraf in the SFM Nation. Ashraf, I don't know whether maybe the president, what he's doing about this commission is just part of job creation, because he will say, we will. Then after that, he's on the trip to somewhere, we don't know. Then all of a sudden, this thing is supposed just to take it straight to the court. It will have you like a way forward now. Instead, like now you're bringing a different political parties, some they just see the loopholes so that they can, like maybe their name will be like in on top there. This is uncalled for.
Okay, all uncalled for. Then what? Like, do we have no commission? What does it replace it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners of the show. Ashraf, I think the other committee was supposed to handle this Madlanga Commission case, because the Madlanga Commission itself seems to monetize the case and manipulate the evidence. So if they are the way to summon everyone into Parliament, Kate Madlala, Brian Mukhozi, Fikile Mbalula and the ANC, and discuss this case within 2 days, the truth will be out. Brian Mabai, Prochakland, thanks for the great show.
Okay, and we'll pick out some more calls and comments in a moment or so. But let's get back, to an issue I touched on earlier on. Let's talk about the Free State's 8th Annual Provincial Research Colloquium and what that really means. So various university researchers and key stakeholders from the Free State government departments are currently meeting to discuss the challenges and the possible solutions that can be employed to bring about sustainable economic development and growth in the province. I would think that could be a case of ditto, copy and paste across the board for all 9 of our provinces anyway, right? But having said that, let's now talk to Katsuba Kume, who's the Free State MEC for Finance, for Economic Development as well as Tourism. Appreciate your time, MEC. Thanks for connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to your listeners and good afternoon to my program director.
Thank you. It's an interesting thought in terms of, obviously you need to grow as a province, but in many ways you are also competing with other provinces to try and create growth within your province and then contribute to the national fiscus, right?
Yes.
So with that in mind, tell me what the plans are.
Okay. Today we're having the research colloquium, which was aiming at looking at the issues that are affecting our province, but within the national framework. Part of what they were doing, they were giving us reports on a number of issues that they have been researched by both the financial sector, the private sector, and the academic sector, and agencies of government, and the government itself, particularly the department that I'm heading, which is the Department of Finance, Economic Development and Tourism. So what is key about this is because we have realized that for the past 8 years, we've been having this research colloquium annually, but what has been lacking is the bridge between the knowledge research and the implementation part of it. So today's and tomorrow's sessions, they're about actually closing that gap to ensure that there's a bridge that is being built through this dialogue to ensure that there's knowledge sharing, but at the very same time, there are these implementation or action-oriented programs. So part of what the financial sector came up with very strong was the issue of the collateral. They were saying to us, you've got an SMMEs in the Free State, but majority of them, they are failing to bring collateral as and when they want loans. And this shows you that there has to be some ways and means that the financial sector needs to investigate and come up with a research tool that will be able to work, to help the SMME to ensure that there's economic development. With the intention that we need the inclusive of those who were closed out in the economic participation in the olden days due to apartheid laws, but due to also the red tape and including the collateral itself. So that was one research which I think for me it was making a lot of sense that here are the banks that are saying this could be one of the areas that are prohibiting the development. But the second one was the one which was also talking about generally the buy-in by the public in the Free State. What is it that we need to do? One speaker even says to us, if you still continue to talk about delivery of services, you make our people not to be active participants in the development that affect their lives. So these are some of the researches that are taking place. The other one was general about the services, issues of the interruption in relation to water, interruption in relation to electricity, and what needs to be taken to put into measure to ensure that as and when we invite investors in the system, but also our systems are clear and we don't have issues like potholes, we don't have issues of interruption in relation to water and electricity.
How? Just give me your analysis of the state of play of your province. You know, the state of the Free State government. What's working and what's not.
Look, what is not working? It is the systems that were put in place in the olden days. There are systems that were just not relevant to our province. Our province is one of those that we may refer to as the basket of the country in relation to agriculture. But often when you see the economic strategy, we have tried not to prioritize the issue of agricultural activity, including the agro-processing. So what the colloquium research is doing now was to begin to reposition the strategic growth economic plan and the recovery part of it to ensure that let's make agriculture and mining to be one of those economic activities that the province must begin to prioritize, including how we have begun to focus in relation to the district development and the district spatial planning. What we have realized today was that, for instance, Harib district was taken out. And in Harib, we've got so many jewels, we've got so many gems that Free State can always proud itself with. Actually, we are even having a meeting today, this evening at 6 o'clock, together between ourselves, the Eastern Cape and the Northern Cape, just to look at what are the opportunities that the Harib Dam has for the three provinces and what we can then say to our people in those areas. The things that they may do that relate to this.
Wow.
But what has always been working, you've got a government that was prepared every time to see to it that it involves our people participate in their economic activities, but they also have this thing that where they ensure that the rights of our people are not being undermined, in relation to economic development.
Okay.
And then our agencies, they are also working very hard to ensure that they support the SMMEs. But also you've got leadership in business and financial sector, which has always been prepared to work together with government. So these are some of the things that have been working. But somehow, issues of policy that is linked to relevant action program, that's where we've been making, guys. So this is where areas that are working. But generally, the service provision by government has also been one area that somehow it has an impact in relation to the economic development. As I've said to you, the issues of water interruption, sometimes poor networks running in our townships, sometimes the issue of the roads themselves, the state of the roads themselves, they also have an impact in affecting our economy.
Well, and therefore, those are the big challenges. So let's see what happens next from the think tanks to actual an action plan. Ketso Makume, the Free State's MEC for Finance, Economic Development and Tourism. Much appreciate your time. We'll rejoin the goings on in Parliament after this.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Right, let's get back to Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. The dominant voice all day today, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Out of the job, then we'll start telling me about how is it trying to make the ends living and how he's trying to survive on things. So we ended up having those casual talks with him. That's why I said earlier, I don't necessarily know much about his private life, not much about his family. I will know his house, I know his wife and his two boys, but the rest, I didn't necessarily know much about him because we're not friends to that extent. It's people that know each other. So the engagement between myself and Mr. Nkabinde and the minister only happened on the day when Mr. Nkabinde took me to Empangeni. I drove with him to Empangeni where we met the minister. And it was just to show that he knows the minister and there was nothing else more that was discussed. There was no promise of a job, there was nothing else. That's why I said earlier, I cannot remember at the time whether the minister was at public service or was at water or what, but I like to believe perhaps he was already at water. But because I didn't pay attention, I cannot tell you exactly definitely the day when we visited which department he was working for. But I knew that he was a minister at the time. So therefore there was no telephone calls between us in relation to his appointment. So his appointment as a chief of staff, I said at the time he was working for IPID, he left IPID, he was unemployed. Up until the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, was appointed as a Minister of Police. That is when he invited Nkabinde to come and join him to work with him as a chief of staff. That was the first time Nkabinde got to be employed, literally basically moving from a very junior rank that he was holding in the police to a chief director position that he ended up occupying, which he occupies now, a chief director in the office of the minister. So that's why I said earlier, when he received the phone call from the minister asking him to become a chief of staff, he had no clue what is a chief of staff. He phoned me to ask me, what do chief of staffs do? Because the only thing Nkabinde knew is a case token, because he was just an investigator, that's all he knew. So when he's invited to become a chief of staff was a shocker to him, but I ended up telling him about the amount of money he's going to be paid when he gets to that position. Obvious, I did not know about other qualifications I didn't need to have, but he was appointed. He became a chief of staff. He is a chief of staff now. I hope I've covered that part.
Honorable Nomvalo, are you fine? Okay. Honorable Sangun.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think I've got two questions for clarity, although one might be procedural. The first one, I know that the evidence leader did ask the general why he went to see the minister, and I think the general said they wanted to meet. That's where I need clarity, because I'm interested to know whether it's normal procedure that a provincial commissioner is just introduced to ministers, or was there any other reason? And then secondly, when the general then went to see the minister, was the general aware at the time that the minister was a person of interest? Because he would have had, he would be privy to this information that is coming out. Then, Chairperson, my last question is just about procedure. I'm looking for clarity on procedure. The general in his testimony did indicate that there are questions that are being raised that don't cover the statement. Now, we've said as this ad hoc committee that we're not going to try and push anything under the carpet, but I'm worried where we are going to constantly be encountering testimony that is not in the statement. Now, will we be getting a supplementary statement, for example, on those issues so that when we engage them, we would at least have them on the record? Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Senior Counsel.
Chair, on the last aspect, Honourable Member, or do you first want to deal with the first part of your question?
Yeah, if you can please get closer to the microphone.
We did discuss, and I touched on it in our opening statement this morning, and we raised it with General Konazi in our consultation last when we recognized him ahead of yesterday, that I will from time to time ask him about matters or issues or questions that doesn't arise from his statement, for the reason that this procedure or process is different from Madlanga. General Konazi is going to appear here today, and tomorrow honourable members will ask him questions, and then he will leave. Whereas at
All right, we will rejoin the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating issue. We'll do that in a moment.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep. Enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m, only on S3. S3, open up.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's get back there. Norman Arendse is the voice you're going to hear now. But central to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating police corruption is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Statement, Honourable Chair.
I'm noting your hand, Honourable Malim. Let's allow the senior counsel first to facilitate for. Okay.
Chair, I really don't understand how you want us to proceed. Because it must be on the basis of technicalities, audibility, and things like that. If you're going to allow them to ask questions, we're going to ask questions. Don't do that. We agreed each member is going to get 30 minutes tomorrow. And if they ask questions now and tomorrow they ask questions on their 30 minutes, they've got 35 minutes. Are you going to afford me that? Please don't do that. The last question Honorable Sangoni raised, it's a proper question. It's a clarity, it's a procedural matter that, okay, now that this thing is not in the statement, what do we do with it? And the senior counsel clarified it. And that I accept that. What the general is being asked about is his relationship with Nkabinde, which is covered in the annexure from Madlanga. He spoke about Nkabinde in Madlanga. So remember, we've got this main statement, we've got annexures, and we can ask questions based on all of those annexures that are here, if you have gone through them. There's nothing irrelevant about that. But to ask the questions of why do you go to a minister? Is that a procedure to go to ministers? No, it's not clarity. It's not dealing with any technicality. It's a question that can be asked tomorrow in your 30 minutes. And if you're going to proceed like that, then they're going to get more time than all of us. And what do we do tomorrow? So it's unfair, Chair. Let the questions be on procedural issues, on technical issues. That's what we agreed on. Not anyone wanting to take advantage and we have more time at our expense. Thanks.
Okay. Can we agree that the questions will be answered tomorrow? Yes.
Chair will agree for the sake of peace, but you allowed questions from MK. But in order for us to proceed, we will stand down and agree. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Let's agree that those questions will be answered tomorrow. Can we? Okay. Honorable Novalo.
Chair, we just need clarity so that we will be clear as we move forward. Remember that asking question was on the basis of the proposal that was made by the Chief Whip of the ANC. That members can only be allowed to ask questions on issues arising from the questions asked by the evidence leader to the witness, not new questions, but on areas where we have not been clear in terms of the responses that have been given. And asking questions emanated from that. We're not asking new questions, but we wanted to be clear for our records so that when we make records, we make proper records from the correct understanding of what has been a response. So if there's a deviation from that, Chairperson, just say members will no longer be allowed to ask questions because it is a position of this meeting. And that position was motivated by the Chief Whip of the ANC.
Let me say this. I agree with the questions that you raised, Honorable Nomvalo. There is nothing wrong with that. I agree with the last part of the questions that Honorable Sankoni has raised. And her two questions that she raised first will be answered tomorrow. That's what we are saying. Is it very clear?
Can I come in, Chair? Now the question, Chair, is should we ask questions going forward emanating from a misunderstanding of what has been?
You wanted to clarify certain matters regarding the relationship that Mr. Nkabinde had with Minister Mchunu. And the questions that you raised were not new questions. They were based on questions that were raised by the senior counsel. And that is why I say I agree with those questions. That is why I even came back to you to check if you were satisfied with the answers that were given. So it means if you may have questions later, you can still ask those clarity-seeking questions. Like Honorable Sangoni had asked a question about procedural matters, which the senior counsel has clarified because it's a matter of procedure. But there are other two questions that she raised, which may be on the borderline And that is why I agree with her when she says, for the sake of peace, let's continue. And I give a ruling because I don't want us to discuss the merits and the demerits of the questions. Where I stand, they are on the borderline. It may be very difficult if we may end up being polemical about them. So those questions are noted. They will be answered tomorrow. Is that fine, honorable members? Senior Counsel?
Thank you.
May we please proceed?
Thank you, Honourable Chair, honourable members. General Nkonazi, I was moving to the Minister's Directive of 31 December.
Right, we'll stop on that again for the moment. We're going to get in news and sport and other things, but also we need to hear what you have to say. So let's do that just now. Right now, 5:30. Here's Greg Host with the news heads.
In the headlines, a supply of industrial heating fuel says the terminal operator agreement, which was signed today with Transnet, will help the local refinery industry increase its capacity for fuel imports. The Department of Transport says it's resolved to make legislative amendments to expedite payments from the Road Accident Fund, and mediators have reported to have reached an understanding with Hamas and Israel on an agenda for indirect talks in Egypt. More on those stories and other news at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Germiston, queuing towards Geldenhuys interchange. The N1 northbound in Pretoria, slow moving towards the Sefako Mahato Drive exit, and the N1 southbound in Fourways, queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive. In KZN, on the N2 northbound in Amanzimtoti, queuing traffic towards Twinney Hill. The M4 northbound is queuing through Mhlanga, and Chris Hani Road westbound, queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has a crash reported after the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive exit. The R300 has a crash between Van Riebeeck Road and Stellenbosch Arterial Road, queuing traffic both ways. And the N7 southbound has a grass fire reported before Plattekloof Road, so watch out for smoke and, of course, slowing down traffic. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, to me, let's talk cricket.
Well, Keshav Maharaj will lead the Hollywood Bets Dolphins against the DP World Lions in the 4-day series starting tomorrow. Maharaj is coming in for injured Marquez Ackerman, who picked up an ankle injury during warm-up session at Boland Park last week and was ruled out of the Dolphins' second innings with the bat. Meanwhile, Tasman Brits broke the record for the most centuries ever scored in a calendar year by a woman in one-day international cricket when she notched up her fifth in 2025 and helped the Proteas woman beat New Zealand by a healthy 6 runs yesterday.
This one was a bit fun. For some reason I was middling the ball a bit better, but I think the best century was the one in Pakistan where Kapi and I batted for those long period of time. I think that was probably the toughest century that I've had to make. No, the one just before when I got the 100, yeah.
The Proteas women are in action again on the 9th. Then in football, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has called up Evidence Makgoba to replace Ekrem Reyners, who has been withdrawn from the squad due to medical reasons. Bafana also without Pirates attacker Lebogile Mofokeng, who was withdrawn from that side after picking up an injury over the weekend, with Mduduzi Shabalala coming in as a replacement. Elsewhere, talking about the World Cup, FIFA have raised the price tickets because of the demand for the tickets. Looking at the group stage tickets, they go from just over 1,000 rands to 13,000 rands, and then for the final it's around 34,000 rands to 109,000 rands. Elsewhere, Harry Kane says that he's open to extending his Bayern Munich stay. This is from last month. Tottenham boss Thomas Frank saying that he is already all set to open the door for a potential Kane return to North London London from Bayern Munich. This is because he has a release clause in his Bayern contract, which would have allowed him to leave for £67 million in January and drops down to £54 million in January next year. However, Kane says that different opportunities and timings happen and things eventually fall in place, and that he is fully all in with Bayern. In rugby, Springbok prop Boan Venter could be fast-tracked into Edinburgh's team for Friday's URC clash against Munster. The 28-year-old returned to training this week. This is after South Africa's thrilling 29-27 win over Argentina at Twickenham on Saturday that secured back-to-back rugby championships. Venter, who joined Edinburgh from the Cheetahs in 2021, had previously indicated that he hoped to qualify for Scotland and on residency grounds in 2026. Then in tennis, the governing body of men's tennis, ATP, could consider a formal heat rule. This is after a string of retirements at the Shanghai Masters this week blew the draw wide open, with top players struggling under soaring temperatures and punishing humidity. World number 2 Jannik Sinner's title defense ended in agony on Sunday when the Italian struggled to walk due to cramp in his right thigh before he retired, and Novak Djokovic vomited during his encounter, while Holger Rune was heard asking an official during a medical timeout in his meet if players had to die on court amid the heat and humidity. Then all roads lead to Union Buildings in Tshwane on Sunday, where the Region 5 Marathon will take place. It's a 21-kilometer race, and the winners of both the men and the female will walk away with 50,000 rands. That's it from my side. I will be back again tomorrow.
And we certainly can hold you to that. Thank you. And some of the big issues will be debated. I think there's a big countdown to Friday, and I'm just saying it because I think it's that important to us, right? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
We'll do that, yeah.
This October month, SAFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, the SAFM market update with Jimmy Moya happens from 6 to 7 to set the scene. We do have Jimmy with us, and you've got this, I don't know what you mean, in answer to the golden question. What is the golden question?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Well, I suppose the golden question at this point is, where is the gold price going to? And the answer to that is very close to $4,000 a fine ounce. But also, why is the gold price going to that level? I could have an answer to that question, because we're going to have a conversation around the gold reserves. The central banks of the world have been stockpiling gold reserves. Just a quick figure on that. In the 2025 year alone, central banks have amassed more than 6,000 tons of gold in storage. Now, that is a big number when you think about what it means in terms of gold reserves, and more importantly, the conversation that has been looming around establishing that BRICS gold reserve or gold standard, and what that could potentially mean for the world. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at it in the context of a US government that remains shut down, a US dollar that remains weakening at the moment, and we're going to see what we make of potentially what could have been driving the gold price all along. We've got quite an interesting conversation on that coming up. We're also going to be taking a look at the latest proposals for a 3% levy to be imposed on companies for BEE accreditation or for BEE points. We're going to be looking at this because the government might potentially be considering this. It's been proposed by a civil society organization and not necessarily by the government directly, but we're going to take a look at the impact that would then have on business, what it would then mean for the South African economy, and whether or not this would be the right idea or the right approach. We're also going to have a conversation around some developments in the Protection of Personal Information Act that we saw happen earlier in this year. We're finally seeing some enforcement take place around the telemarketer space, direct telemarketers that are continuing to call individuals despite not having been given the consent to do so by these individuals are starting to be fined. We saw that some telemarketers marketers are being fined as much as 100,000 rand. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at what consumer rights are under telemarketer conversations and direct telemarketer conversations, and whether or not you can withdraw your consent after you've given it, and how all of that would work, and what protections you have as a consumer. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Fines for You about managing your traffic fines, especially ahead of the ARTO points demerit system set to kick in. And then we're going to wrap up the show with a conversation related to Agri. We're doing Agri Tuesdays this week, and we are looking at potato prices. Potato prices could potentially come down as a result of a bumper harvest in the agricultural space. We're going to take a look at that and what that would mean for consumers. Before we get to all of those conversations, though, a sense of the markets throughout the day. As I said, the gold price dangerously close to $4,000 a fine ounce. The gold futures actually did touch above $4,000 a fine ounce. It is the spot price at the moment that remains just below that level. But I expect that, given that we are probably less than $20 away from that key level, we'll probably reach there tonight. I said last night, I'm going to go out on a limb again and say potentially tonight, going into tomorrow morning's Asian session. And if it doesn't happen, it'll certainly happen by the end of the week. I don't see why it wouldn't. If we look at the Brent crude price while we're looking at commodities, $65.35 a barrel. Still below that $70 a barrel level, which is good to see for us. Platinum pricing, $1,661. Palladium almost at $1,400 a fine ounce. It's at $1,395 odd dollars a fine ounce. The rand against the dollar at the moment, 17 rand and 20 cents. Briefly dipped to 17 rand 19 cents, showing some signs of strength there amidst a weaker dollar. The rand against the British pound, 23 rand and 12 cents. 1 euro, 20 rand and 7 cents. 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand and 33. 1 Bitcoin, $121,000 a Bitcoin. Or in rand terms, with that slightly stronger rand, just below 2.1 million. That's 2,093,000 rand there. Quick look at equity markets before we go. In bit of a mixed bag. International markets, the Asian session was mostly in the red, with the Shanghai Composite, the only real index to finish in the green. European markets were also a bit of a mixed bag. The the FTSE in London finishing flat, whilst the DAX in Germany finishing up almost 0.5%, and the CAC 40 in France only up about 2 basis points, so almost flat as well there. US markets at the moment are in the red. The Nasdaq down 0.4% and the S&P down about 0.33%. Local markets did not fare much better. Despite the stronger gold price and stronger platinum pricing, we are seeing that the resource counters were the biggest loser on the day, down about 1%. Could be some profit taking there. Not much to be concerned about, I don't think, at the moment, given how hot that sector has run throughout the year. Industrials down about 0.16%, financials down 0.25%. As a result, the all share 0.4% down, 0.47% in the case of the top 40. We're going to be looking at these and other market movements a little later on. I have Gerabile Nonyana joining me to take a look at markets and see what we make of this gold rally and potentially where we go to from here. But that conversation comes up after the 6 p.m. news, as always. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Thanks for that. Perfect. What we'll do, in fact, let's do this right away. We're going to go back by public demand to Parliament's ad hoc committee.
And Gabin had to facilitate it to send it to the Minister for signature.
Sorry, Honourable Chair, may my colleague be excused? We've got a 6 o'clock scheduled with...
I have sanctioned that, Senior Counsel. Honourable members, Maria has to leave us because they have to conclude engagements with General Sibia. Thank you so much, Senior Counsel. You can proceed.
Thank you, Richard, and honourable members for the indulgence. You must have been shocked at this revelation by your good friend, Mr. Nkabinde. Given the importance of these matters, all three matters, border control, crime intelligence is huge. We know it's been at the heart of a lot of issues in our country for a number of years. These are all important, critical issues. Now you hear there's been a back and forth. The minister may not have drafted the letter himself. You suspect third-party involvement.
Yeah, no, it was indeed a concern, but I must say, Honorable Chair and members, on the day when I became aware of this, I couldn't blame Kabinde on anything, because to me, he was honest to tell me that the letter was going back and forth, being corrected, and he was pressured to make sure that it's delivered at the Office of the National Commissioner. So I like to believe that, giving him a benefit of doubt, that on the day when this letter was drafted, and subsequent to it being forwarded to the Office of the National Commissioner, he perhaps had no role to play with regard to the content of the letter, except to do the administration processes of it. The problem then came on the following day. When the following day, this letter, or the content of my engagement with him, appeared in the social media somewhere, that I threatened the Minister of Police with arrest and so forth, because I had said that if this is going to be implemented like this, the minister will be accused of crime, and that might end up bad to us, a minister. So let's fix this. That was the exact same day when this letter was leaked. So unfortunately, the following day after talking to Mr. Nkabinde, the conversation between me and him was twisted somehow in the social media, but it landed at the social media. So then we had a conversation the following day where he said to me, he believes his phone was somehow been tapped by someone was listening to our conversation and so forth. He did not share the conversation with anyone. So that's when I started asking myself questions about Nkabinde himself. Because I'm engaging with him a day before, the following day, our conversation is on social media. It made me realize that perhaps he's the one that leaked it. Honorable Chair and members, I then am not going to talk much about what I became aware of most recently, that indeed Nkabinde was instructed to record me at the time. Instructed to record the conversation between me and him. So it means when I was talking to him, I was recording, and he would have shared that recording to someone. That's why that recording ended up in the social media the following day.
But
so it was no mistake.
Can we just clarify this? You don't have copies of what was on social media?
No, I don't have it with me, but I can try and trace it. But there were a lot of, at the time, there were a lot of communication that was out there on the social media. But I can try and see if I can research. But I don't have anything with me here.
Yeah, because what I think we would also like to know is whether what appeared on social media, is it actually exactly the same as what was recorded in your conversation with him allegedly?
I can tell you, not all of it, but by and large, the conversation between me and him was there in the social media communication.
And forgive me if I'm offside, just tell me or ignore the question. But did I also understand that there's an allegation that you, when you spoke to Nkabinde, you had threatened the minister?
I was warning Nkabinde that if this letter, with its content the way it is not withdrawn, and the work of the police in terms of investigation come to a halt as is directed by this letter, this is going to have consequences towards the minister. Because the minister has got no jurisdiction in stopping a criminal investigation that is running. So this letter is literally saying that this team must stop with immediate effect. I'm not quoting verbatim, but it is basically, the task team be disestablished immediately. Those are the words. So if you are saying that, you are saying, if the case is in court, stop working. If the case and investigation stop working, just stop everything at once. That's the consequences this letter has. So I was warning Nkabinde that you better make sure that you, and the minister sit and talk about this. Because I don't know what is the circumstances that led into Mr. signing it, but the implication of the letter will land the minister in trouble. So it was there that the following day, which appeared on social media as if I threatened the minister when I was communicating with Mr. Nkabinde.
So did you see either the whole or part of your discussion on social media yourself, or was this reported to you by someone that what is this that appeared on social media, and you then saw it?
Yeah, well, I saw the communication. I cannot remember how it came to me, but I saw that communication of what was out there. that was spread.
So did you speak to Nkabinde either on the 3rd after this appeared on social media or afterwards?
Yeah, we've been talking. Afterwards, we've been talking up until most recently. I think after my press briefing, then we pass each other now. We don't talk to each other.
And what has come from your discussions or talks with him? He appears certainly, with respect from what you're telling this honourable committee and us, that he seems to be a central figure in all of this.
In all of what?
Well, the letter, and you say that he knew there was a toing and froing of the letter. He also told you that he was pressured into getting the letter out on the 31st of December, just on New Year's Eve, which in itself sounds, I don't think one needs evidence on this. It sounds really odd that on New Year's Eve, such an important document is released. So I'm asking about his central role in this, his appointment as Chief of Staff, when according to you, he's not even qualified for this role, doesn't have the qualifications. I must confess, I don't know what the qualifications might be, but I suppose we can look that up on the public service regulations, what it entails. But it sounds to me that he wasn't quite qualified for the job. So that's why I'm asking you to comment on that proposition, that he seems to be quite a key figure in all of this.
Honourable Chair and honourable members, it sometimes can be dangerous to express your opinion about something that you don't have facts on. Since the S is asking me my impression, the impression I have is that Mr. Nkabinde was recruited or was appointed by the Minister Chief of Staff, and he had no clue about what Chief of Staff does. So he had to adjust in the office. He had to learn as he was going. That's why I know that the other former Chief of Staff at the office of the Minister can come here and testify that he also phoned him and seek advice as to what does Chief of Staff do. And he also had to coach him about what Chief of Staffs are doing. And so he had to adjust as you learn as he was going. And I think that's why even he started learning politics, because he was never a politician. So I see him today with T-shirts of political parties, which I don't think he even understands what it takes to be a politician. So he adjusted as he was going along to please his boss.
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm curious about, and what I think many of us here would be curious about, is you continue to engage with Nkabinde, despite clear shortcomings that he has in that post, despite the critical role he plays in that post. A Chief of Staff presumably is very close to, that's why you appoint someone Chief of Staff.
Honourable Chair and all members, these things are happening. The letter comes out, I speak to Chief of Staff, and after that he said he tried to secure a meeting with the Minister, is not able to, and next thing he says to me, no, he did not release the information that I was talking to him about. Perhaps someone tapped his phone or something like that. So I had no reason not to believe what he was telling me. So all the time, even when we meet in meetings, because the person I know, so we'll engage. As the time went by in this first 6 months of the year, I started getting more information about his role that he plays in some of the meetings, how vocal he becomes in some of the meetings, and which was strange to me that, but he's got no role there. How does he become this vocal? So slowly then I started monitoring his social media and then WhatsApp status. Then I started realizing he's no longer the man that I knew he was, because as I say, he's now a politician. He talks about politics and he displays T-shirts of political parties, rallies and all those things, which is now away from what the Chief of Staff is supposed to do. And that's when I started realizing that maybe is what I'm hearing about his involvement, about interfering with police work might be true as the time progresses. Until such time that eventually we started picking up other evidence. I think when I went public on the 6th of July, the lines were drawn between me and him. So we never really engaged after that.
I think you've answered the question that initially you were reluctant to answer. You don't want to express an opinion on Gabinde.
No, I said it's sometimes it's wrong to express an opinion without facts. But since you asked me the question, and I felt maybe I can express opinion because this is my observation. So I'm qualifying it like then, it's my observation. But I'm sure those from the political party that he markets the lot, they might want to go and check when did he join them and when did he become a member for him to be that active.
So there are interactions between you and him after the 3rd of January leading up to the 6th of July.
We've been talking together up until the press briefing happened. We've been talking. We stopped communicating after the press briefing.
Well, did he say anything further about the letter? Did he say anything further about any of the 3 aspects in the letter, especially the disestablishment? I think that's the word that was used, the disestablishment of the PTKT. Did he say anything about it?
Honorable Chair members, there's been a lot of engagement between me and him in between. There will be conferences, summits, there and there, meetings, BOC. So we come across. There will be gatherings, the minister is there, he comes with, he's part of the staff, so we talk. That's why you'll see later when I talk about on my statement about the Mr. Mokgotsi that phoned me in October last year. I phoned Gabinde to ask Gabinde, so he told me about who Mokgotsi was. I didn't know Mokgotsi, it's him that told me about Mokgotsi. So there's been a lot of conversation between me and him. And the last, I think, heart-to-heart talk we had with him, we had at Beachwood Hotel in Johannesburg, and he accompanied me into the car. When they were, I think the tensions were growing already in terms of after this letter, as the team was trying to figure out and the team working out and what they were picking up. And I had an engagement with him there when he said, hey, I don't know anything about what's happening. And I said to him, boss, truth always comes out. So whatever that is happening right now, it's going to come out. So you better be on the right side of the law. I hope you're not going to get caught on the wrong side. That was my conversation with him in Beachwood Hotel. So that was a heart-to-heart talk. Other than that, we'll just meet and greet, hey, how's it? We just talk on a G. And we end there.
And you mentioned that did he appear to know Mokgotsi well?
No. At that time when I phoned him about a person who had contacted me as Bran Mokgotsi, he's the one who told me that, no, he's a person who's very close with the minister. But he said he's not working for the department. He's not employed in the ministry. But he's close to the ministry.
So he's the person who told you that Mokgotsi is very close. Is that did you?
Yeah,
very close to
that was his word. That's why I even asked him to give me the Mokgotsi's number, and he sent me the Mokgotsi's number to confirm that it's the same person you're talking about.
And is that also, although we were still going to come to it, is that also
senior counsel?
So,
yeah, closer.
Oh, am I? Sorry, Honourable Chair. Sorry, members. Is that also why you alleged on the 6th of the 5th of March, when there was an appearance before it was online, the appearance before the police committee of Parliament of Mr. Cameron, when you alleged that Mokgotsi was an associate of the minister?
Yeah, that's correct. I was quoting on what I learned from Mr. Gabinde.
So you got that from Gabinde?
That's correct.
Did you have any engagement with the minister after the 2nd of January? Did you contact him? Did you phone him? Did you write to him? Did you go to his office to ask him to explain why he issued this directive?
My main concern, Honorable Chair and members, the engagement I will be having with the minister was always work-related, in meetings and so forth, but not specific about the letter. I tried with Nkabinde to get to meet with the minister so we can talk about the letter, and it did not happen. I tried with the National Commissioner to ask him to secure with the meeting, with a meeting with the minister so we can talk about the letter, and it didn't happen. Until I had to ask the honorable member, Mr. Cameroon, to invite me to come to this committee, portfolio committee, so that we can be able to address some of these issues that I'm seeing happening. And yes, we arrived and we spoke about it, but the minister just put a cold shoulder on it. He didn't take it serious. He simply says, no, well, the person that Mkwana is talking about, I don't know the person. So it just ended like that. So those are my efforts. I had actually, even before coming to the portfolio committee, if I'm not mistaken, no, after.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave the proceedings at Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. As you know, the voice you've been hearing all day has been that of Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And of course, this parliamentary ad hoc committee meeting, very different from the Madlanga Commission, maybe not different in terms of the content, but in terms of who's asking the questions, because this is very much within Parliament and it's not an inquiry as in the Madlanga Commission. Maybe the big difference is there. Anyway, that's the show. We'll do it again tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Feel free to engage on social media, tag SFM Radio and myself, Ashraf Garda, anytime you're up for it, and you can get the podcasts of the things we've covered. Just go to sfm.co.za, the website, and you'll find it under podcast and then the National Pulse. Have a wonderful evening. Let's get the news. Here's Greg Hose. It's 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. A major boost for the local refinery industry, and Mkhwanazi backs